What's up, guys? M. Jones back in the house again for another Blu-ray update, and he's back to his clean-shaven self. Not because Mason told me to, it's because I wanted to. Okay, anyway, got a lot of movies to talk about today. I've been really hoarding up like crazy, and I just got to keep doing more updates. I got to catch up because I have so many movies I've bought and watched, and I need to start telling you what I have. So let's go alphabetical order as always. First one I want to go over. Man, I saw this movie previews. I saw the previews of this movie about a year ago, and I said this is gonna flop. It's gonna be like that movie, College, and it's gonna suck complete shit. 21 and Over is awesome. This movie is so funny. I saw this movie, I think on demand with Steggs Jr. About maybe 3-4 months ago. And I laughed hysterically to this movie. This movie is so good. It's about the guy in the middle, real uptight, kind of has to always do what daddy wants, and his dad's a doctor, his son, so he wants his son to be a doctor, and so he has to follow all these rules. But his two best friends, right here, who haven't really done too much of themselves just yet, come to visit him on his 21st birthday. And they want to party with him and loosen him up. Well, they kind of find out that this guy here in the middle, in the movie, is called Jeff Chang. Jeff Chang's not the angel everyone thinks he is. And these two find out real quick just about how he acts and how he really is. And the movie is hysterical. And if you can see up the top here, it says from the writers from The Hangover. I had that feeling like I was watching a Hangover type movie. So I really like this movie. I laughed hysterically. There's so many good parts. This guy here and this guy there, they're going to be really good actors, I think. This guy has the Paul Rudd kind of attitude, and this guy has kind of like the John Cusack / Ashton Kutcher attitude. I really think you guys are going to really see a lot more of them as time goes on. And a nice slipcover case, of course, and as you can see. And the two boys that I'm telling you about is Miles Teller, who is right here. That's Miles Teller. And the other one, I believe, is Skylar Astin. Now, Skylar Astin was from the movie Pitch Perfect. He was really good in that. And he played sort of more of a badass in that, more of a rougher kind of guy. When in this movie, he plays a real straight edge kind of guy. So I thought he did a really nice job. But I definitely see a big future from both of them. And the other guy who played, Jeff Chang, his name was Justin Chon. So not a huge difference of names. I really thought this movie was fantastic. You got to check it out. I laughed hysterically, and it brought me back to some college days, man. I really reminisced. So check it out. I loved it. Oh, the next one. Big fan of this series. Beverly Hills Cop. Really, really, really loved this whole series. I thought this one's the best one. The original one. I love Judge Reinhold. I loved him in that movie also, and also John Ashton. If you're not sure who John Ashton is, he is right here. This guy right there. If you can see that clearly. Anywho, I really liked this movie. I thought it was so much better than 48 Hours. Eddie Murphy did those movies where he was kind of with the cops, helping the cops, against the cops, whatever. But this one, he was a cop. 48 Hours, he was against the cops. He was trying to help them. But I like this one way more than 48 Hours. I'm not a big Nick Nolte fan. That's probably why. But I did love this movie. It's Axel Foley, and I love that theme song. There, doon 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 doon. Oh, it was great lick from a piano, keyboard, or guitar. But just really love this movie. It's very funny. And I love that. This is in Detroit. He's a big Lions fan. He always wears something Lions in each movie, and I really think you'll like this movie. And it's just a fantastic movie, and he's a very smart cop. He's a very smart cop. And his job is to track down the killer that killed his best friend. So, this guy has it out. He really is focused on getting the bad guy. And I thought this movie is fantastic. But you got to check it out. It was very well made. And how it looks on the TV for the Blu-ray, it looks very good as well. Check it out. Next one, another classic action movie / has some witty humor to it. Face Off. really love Face Off. I thought Castor Troy, who was originally Nicolas Cage, who was then turned into John Travolta. I thought he was so witty. I thought he was really good. I loved the part when he was on the private jet and he says to the stewardess, he goes, "If I were to let you suck my tongue, would you be grateful?" I just loved that. It was so smooth. I would love that. As smooth as his face. I just really loved this movie. And I loved the action director John Woo. So I knew this movie was going to be great. This was a time where John Travolta was really popular with movies. He was just getting off of Broken Arrow from this. He was just getting off from Get Shorty and Pulp Fiction, and he was really on fire right now at this point. He couldn't get hotter. And Nicolas Cage, same goes for him. He was just kind of starting it from The Rock, and he was looking at The Family Man soon, and these guys are really having a good time right there. In this given moment, this movie came out, these guys are really just soaring with awesomeness. And both of their careers kind of slowed down since especially now. But just really love this movie. I love that they changed faces, and I love how Nicolas Cage is actually John Travolta, and John Travolta is actually Nicolas Cage at one point, and they both see each other and they both realize what's going on. And and John Travolta's who was Nicolas Cage was like, "I'm gonna go home and see your wife," and he's like, "Oh," but it's so funny how everything just works out, and the action's really good. And the ending of this movie is fantastic. Got to check out this movie. Great action movie, and to me it's a timeless movie. I really feel it's a timeless movie because a lot of the stuff that happens in it you still see today in cinema. So really love this, and I love that Gina Gershon was in this movie. Big crush on her. Love that she was in this movie. Check it out. Great movie. I had to get this. I saw this so many times at Best Buy. And one time it was on one of those sales. It was in the sales where it's like $9.99 or $7.99. Well, I got Fight Club. I must have missed this so many times at Best Buy for this being on sale. Every time I went, it would be literally like $24.99, $19.99. I'm like, I'm not going to bite the bullet on this. Do I love this movie? Yeah, I love this movie. But to bite the bullet, that much for one movie, when I could probably get like 3 movies for that price, I said no. So I went to Amazon. I found this real cheap, and it was brand new. I was like, gift, click, send, my house. I love this movie. This movie, I swear, I remember I had to write a report in high school about my reaction to it, because it was all in the mind. It was all in the mind the whole time of Edward Norton. And I just love Meatloaf's cameo, Bob with bitch tits, that was funny. And, Brad Pitt's just a bad mofo in this movie. He's just so cool in this movie. And Tyler Durden, what a cool name, But Edward Norton, his mind is just so just like out there in this movie. And I love this movie. I think this movie really made the later 90s type of action really cool. I thought a lot of movies have kind of gone a la this movie afterwards, and I just think this is a fantastic movie. You got to check it out. Yeah, awesome movie. The next one, I've seen this movie 1,000 times, but I just got this Blu-ray version of this movie, and this movie is Halloween 2. Now, it's a 2-disc collector's edition. Now, I just got done watching this because I haven't seen this in a long time. I remember buying it on VHS and being so scared to watch it as a kid because this movie was a lot more violent and gory than the first Halloween. That's been documented, that this movie's been much more gory and violent. So when I saw this movie, I was like, oh man, it took me a while to really get through the movie because it was, in my opinion, pretty scary. And but I gotta tell you, I watched the movie again on Blu-ray. It looks fantastic. Whoever did this, I guess, Scream Factory did this. They did a fantastic job on Blu-ray because you can see things so clearly. This movie was made like 1980 and was released in 81. And for what it was then, they used like Panamax or something like that for their cameras. Well, this looks phenomenal on HD television. Phenomenal. You got to get this version, the collector's edition. Fantastic. And the nice thing about this being a collector's edition is they have the special features, the bonus stuff, and they have a making of Halloween 2 with all the actors from the movie, except for, the deceased Donald Pleasance. And Jamie Lee Curtis wasn't in the making of this, which I thought was weird for commentary. But everyone else was in this. And it was really cool to see everyone's take on the movie. But the number one thing I liked, and this making of was about 45 minutes, so it was really good. My favorite part was Dick Warlock. He was the Shape in Michael Myers. Halloween 2, sorry. And he was the Shape of Michael Myers. And he was also the stunt coordinator of the movie. And he was also considered policeman number 3, who actually hits Ben Tramer, who's dressed up. They kill that kid, and they go right into like a station van, a news station van. That was actually Dick Warlock. So this guy had a ton of roles in this movie. He had to protect all the people in the death scenes, but he was the one killing them in the death scenes. I always thought that was so funny. He's teaching the stunt on how not to get hurt from this, but he's also knifing you in the throat. It's like, okay. But I loved how he talked about each killing and how he was so very methodical in everything he did. But the making of this was really awesome. It talks with the director, who was who was the director? I think something. Who was the director? I can't remember. Rick Rosenthal. I'm sorry for the delay. Rick Rosenthal. Now, Rick Rosenthal and John Carpenter, in my opinion, probably had a lot of issues with this, because they actually put on 2 extra scenes to show in this movie from John Carpenter, who wasn't even the director. He just did his own private stuff, and they consolidated with Universal and said this should be in the movie. And John Carpenter kind of explained how Michael Myers knew where Jamie Lee Curtis was with the Haddonfield hospital thing, and he also took a shot of him burning at the end. But you can tell that those two, I guess, had some friction just by watching the making. I'm sure there's a little friction, a little ego friction, and they also had on the special features of this it's called Horror Hound, and how they find the actual streets where this was filmed at, and they show what it is today compared to what it was then. That was really cool. You got to see a lot of stuff that was filmed. But just this movie's great. I love it. It's a great sequel. First off, there's not a lot of great sequels, especially horror movies, and I just love this movie. It's really good. A little scary, but it's a lot of fun. Check it out. Next one, going completely from horror. We're gonna go with another real good movie, Moneyball. This movie is just fantastic. It's about Billy Beane, who is the general manager of the Oakland A's, or Athletics, and Brad Pitt plays Billy Beane. And basically, this was about the season, I'm going to say about 5 to 8 years ago, where they just went by statistics and they tried to figure out how to save the most money and get the best statistical advantage on the field. So they had all these guys who were kind of washed up, quotes, washed up, and Billy Beane called and said, hey, we want you on the team. How do you feel about that? We're going to trade for you, or we're going to acquire you, or we're going to sign you. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. I appreciate all the faith you have in me. Well, this team almost makes it to, like the World Series. I think they make it to the playoffs or something like that, and they have to try to get, and they're doing the best they can to try to get to the World Series just by number crunching and figure out statistics. And I loved how Jonah Hill was in this movie. He's like some Yale-educated, economist, and he had a whole bunch of misfits on the roster, but it was all developed because of them. They thought they were going to work. It was kind of a Herb Brooks miracle kind of situation. These are the guys that are going to do it. I don't know who they are. I don't know what their name is. I don't know what they do outside of this. But statistically, this is what's going to win us, and financially. And I thought it was such a good movie, and how Brad Pitt's character Billy Beane was so just loyal to the fact of what he was trying to prove and what he was trying to do. And the team wasn't that bad. And I can actually remember that team when I was a little bit younger, and how they were just kind of like whatever guys, but they were making W's happen on the scorecard. They were winning. But, just a great movie, and this whole movie depicts on how they really did that. That being Billy Beane's character, Brad Pitt, and Jonah Hill's character. How they did it together, consolidated together, and it's just really awesome. But you got to check this out. Classic movie. So good. This movie, I saw it when I was on vacation with Mason, We did a review of this. This is hands down still my favorite movie of 2013. That being Mud. I love this movie. Now, I'm not going to go too crazy with this in describing this to you because I did have a review, which you need to check out. If you subscribe, you can scroll down and look at my older videos. I did do a review of this, and I praised the shit out of it. I love this movie. Matthew McConaughey, fantastic job. Reese Witherspoon, fantastic job. The two young kids, fantastic jobs. Everyone did well in this movie. Every single person did well. I love this movie. I was just completely captured from the start. I was so focused into it. You know, I thought it was incredible. I thought this movie was incredible. Again, if you want to get more of an in-depth review about it, check out my earlier video about it from In Theater Review. But just a great movie. I don't know how it's going to scale on the the Academy Awards for this year, but because it was released so early. But hopefully, I'm hoping they re-release this. But the only thing I'm concerned about with that is I think it's going to conflict with Matthew McConaughey's A Dallas Buyers Club that's supposed to come out December 10th. So I think he's just going to look, it's a great movie, but we'll see what happens. I hope no one forgets about this movie. Hands down my favorite movie of 2013 so far. But I don't think anything can touch this. I thought this was amazing. Gotta check this out. And also check out my review of it. Oh, the next one. I remember seeing this as a little boy, loving this movie because I loved Sly Stallone as a kid. And I just thought, big trucks were cool when I was a kid. And I just always laughed at this movie. I don't know why. I was never, really, in-depth as in, oh, what's going to happen? I was, laughing at this movie. But I thought Over the Top was a really good movie. I just got this movie. It was, $5, maybe $4. And it's so good. And I love it. I love that all he does, he drives and he's training for his arm wrestling tournaments. That's all he does is arm wrestling. And that's the final scene in the movie. And that's basically, this guy is an animal and probably twice the size of Sly Stallone's character. And it doesn't matter. Sly Stallone's just a beast. His forearm strength's incredible. And, I really do like this movie. And I love that, Robert Loggia was in this movie. You don't see a lot from him. He was fantastic in Scarface. And I always loved him in that Necessary Roughness movie. And, and I thought, Sly Stallone's character's name's Lincoln Hawk. He's really well known along the country of, going to biker bars and winning a lot of arm wrestling tournaments. But he has to go pick up his son from cadet school. And he's taking him across country to bring him back home. And, old tricks don't die. Old tricks die hard, and he has to gets intrigued to want to start arm wrestling again. And I just love this movie. How the kid is just so such a little press. He's always sir, you're gonna be violent. It's what? It's like, dude, grow a set of balls. I just love how Sly Stallone's so calm, cool, and collected. And I really just loved it. I really did. And I love how when he's sitting at the bar and the guy comes up behind him. Sly Stallone's sitting there with his son, and this guy comes up behind him, and he goes, "Are you Hawk?" He goes, "Who wants to know?" He goes, "I'm the Smasher." He goes, "It's a nice name." He's just so cool. He's just so calm and cool. It's so funny, and I just love this movie. And you got to check it out. It's a cheap popcorn kind of movie, but it's also very cheap to buy. It's also PG, so kids can watch it. The next one also brings me back to my childhood. I haven't seen this in probably 20 years, I'm guessing. Maybe 19 years. And I saw it, from basically the recommendation from Steggs. He's like, dude, you gotta buy this movie. Because he bought it, and I was like, yeah, I probably should buy it. I've seen it so many times as a kid, but I haven't seen it in a long time. The Pagemaster. Now, Steggs and I we just met Christopher Lloyd, and what a nice guy he was. Very soft-spoken. And he was, Professor Dewey in this movie. And this movie is really funny. It's in the very beginning, it's real people. And then just about maybe a quarter of the way into it to halfway into it, it's all animated. And it's about Richard Tyler, Macaulay Culkin, who's a real uptight kid. He's scared of everything. He has statistical evidence for everything. Everything is always should he do it? Is there a great chance he'll get hurt? It's just, he's such a wimpy kid. And he's in a storm trying to get home, riding his bike, and he stops in this library, and, he's looking around, and he's just trying to take cover from the rain. Well, Christopher Lloyd comes into the picture, and he's like looking at him like an old librarian type guy, and he goes, "I bet you're looking for a special book," and he gives him this book, and then all of a sudden things come to life, and he gives him like a real adventure, and it kind of makes the kid not such a wimp anymore. And I just kind of love this movie. It's just a very simple movie. It's fun. It's a little dull for adults, but if you're an adult now and you saw this as a kid, you'll really appreciate it now. But if you've never seen this as a kid, do not watch this because you'll be bored. But I saw it as a kid, so now I appreciate it as an adult, and I really laugh at this. I love it. So check it out. Great movie. Another one. This one's right up there with Mud for me. I saw this. I saw this with Mason. We did a review of it. And, I was really excited to see this just because I learned about just all these little things about it, how it's so good, and how, Ryan Gosling's really good in it, Bradley Cooper's really good in it, Eva Mendes, so I had to get it. Place Beyond the Pines. Again, I'm not going to go crazy in depth with this because, I did review it. I want you to check it out. You just scroll down my channel and you'll find it. But just a great movie, how two stories kind of connect, and how the one story fades away as the other one develops and then, continues into its climax. But just a great movie. Great movie about a guy down on his luck, that being Ryan Gosling, with life. He just kind of hates himself. He's a motorcycle stunt driver for a circus. And unfortunately, he has a kid with Eva Mendes, whom he met like a couple years prior to seeing her again, where this movie takes off. And and basically he's not the best of guy in the world, but he wants money and stuff. So he starts robbing banks with this guy he met at a mechanic thing. And and Bradley Cooper comes into the story because Bradley Cooper is the reason he's no longer living. And that doesn't ruin the story, just so you know. And it's just amazing how things are shown from different perspectives of the bad guy, technically the villain or the thug, into the good guy, And it's really a great movie, and I loved every bit of it. It's a little bit long. It's like 2 hours and 21 minutes, so have some time. Enjoy it. Don't fall asleep. You gotta watch the whole movie. Loved it. Another movie that really brings me back to my childhood. I like Mel Brooks. I have a lot of movies I like by Mel Brooks, but this one I just thought was so funny, and I just think Robin Hood Men in Tights. What a great movie! It's so funny. It was kind of like Carrie Elway. I thought he was the more badass version from The Princess Bride. You know what I mean? Like he was just so cool in this and so calm and wasn't slated by anything. He was just a little bit more badass character than the Princess Bride character. And I loved, Amy Yasbeck was in this. She's from Problem Child 1 and 2, and she was married to the late John Ritter, which was always very sad. I love John Ritter. And she was great in this, and I always thought she was so attractive. But she was always like that 90s or late 80s, 90s actress. You don't see anything by her anymore. Now I'm guessing retirement. We just loved Isaac Hayes in this, I thought it was just great to see Richard Lewis. He always makes me laugh. But Carrie Elway was really good in this movie. And there's just so many things that are just wrong about this, as in satire and spoof. Like, it's so funny, but the jokes are just like, oh my gosh. I don't know if you could get away with some of the stuff they pulled here. Because I know, like, Mel Brooks did, always has that risque kind of comedy where you could get in trouble, And I just really love this movie. You got to check it out. It's an excellent movie. All right, the next one, not so much in the excellent realm. I kind of bought this because, first of all, it was very cheap. It was very cheap to buy at Best Buy, and it was kind of a recent release. I'm like, well, what the hell? It's only like $12, $13. Might as well just go for it. Stand Up Guys. Sucked. It was bad. It was not good. I'll tell you this because it was choppy as hell. I had no idea what really was going on the entire time. Like, it was confusing. It was like, well, what's going to happen? There was so many plots and twists, but it wasn't good, though. It wasn't fun. It was confusing, and I didn't care about Al Pacino's character. I didn't care about Christopher Walken. I didn't care about Alan Arkin. I didn't care at all about these people. And Al Pacino, he overacted so bad in this movie. And I'm thinking to myself, who told you to do this? And what drugs were you on to continue doing it? Like, it was just, I hated his character in this. And not because he was trying to give off this character expression. I just think he just did a bad job. And the first time in a long time, because I think Al Pacino's fantastic. But he was not good in this movie. Christopher Walken was bland. He wasn't like who I'm used to seeing. And Alan Arkin had such a small role, it didn't even matter. And the fact that he makes the cover of this movie is, it's like, you're hardly in the movie. You know, and it's just, I really hated it. You know, I really thought it was bad. And the ending was just kind of like, okay, thanks. Like, nice send-off. You have no idea what's kind of going on. I just didn't like it. Did not like it. So I would probably avoid spending the money on this. Just watch it where it's free. It'll be free. It'll be on FX in 6 months, every freaking day. It'll be on demand, whatever, you know. It'll be on HBO, I'm sure, whatever. But this movie sucked. I hated it. I really wish I didn't buy it. All right, but we're not going to finish with a lousy movie. We're going to end with a bang here. This movie, oh, just a classic old, you know, like early 80s action, The Terminator. I've had T2 for a long time. You know, I've had T2 for a real long time. And I was like, you know what, why don't I have the first one? You know, I have Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but I don't have the first one. So I just went and bought it. I was like, I just have to get it. It was really cheap. I got it at Best Buy real cheap. It does say $12.99 here, but I actually got it for like $9.99. So I was like, you know, great movie. Love Linda Hamilton. You know, love Arnie. Gotta love Arnie. He's the man. But just love this movie. You know, I love that Arnold Schwarzenegger was the bad guy in this, the cyborg killer. But the next movie is actually more of a good guy, and how Linda Hamilton treats him in the second movie compared to the first. It's just a really good movie. And, you know, anything James Cameron, jeez, he's amazing. James Cameron is a legend. You know, anything he makes, it's always good. But, you know, really did like this movie. And I got to meet Michael Biehn, or Michael Ben, or whatever, however you want to say it. He was the guy that was, I guess, hooking up with Linda Hamilton. And, you know, I met him in real life. He was a really cool guy. Really nice, really down-to-earth guy. I met him at Chiller Theater and in Parsippany, New Jersey. And he was really cool. But just really love this movie. I love all the classic lines. I'll be back. And just, you know, so Ghana. Yes. Love that. And that's also in the same impression of Randy from Scream 2. But just love that impression of that impression. So just really just, you know, love this movie. You got to check it out if you haven't seen it. It's a classic. You know, it's really good. And it really picked up the pace for action movies for the 80s. So really love this. It looks great on the screen. But anyway, that is my August 22nd Blu-ray update. I'll be doing another one soon, I'm sure, because I have a ton I have to get through. I have a huge catalog over there. But I hope you really enjoyed this. If you want to, thumbs up. Always appreciate the thumbs up. That tells me I'm doing an okay job. If you want to leave a comment about something I've said or something I reviewed, please do. And always, please, tell your friends, let's subscribe. Why not? I want to do my best so you can enjoy yourself. But until then, you take it easy and K-bye.